Dad, Mom paid my husband to get married to me.
I should have been the happiest father in the world. My only daughter, Amara, was about to marry the man of her dreams in the most beautiful ceremony Accra had ever seen. But as I took her arm to walk her down that aisle, she leaned close and whispered 8 words that destroyed everything I thought I knew. Mom paid him to marry me, Dad. My heart stopped. The traditional Kent cloth suddenly felt too tight around my chest. 200 guests watched us, smiling, taking pictures. And all I could think was, what kind of monster had I been married to for 27 years? What happened next? Well, let me take you back 6 months to where this nightmare really began. Because this story isn't just about a wedding. It's about betrayal, revenge, and a daughter who proved she was stronger than any of us ever imagined. My name is Kwame Mensah, and this is the story of how my family fell apart and how my daughter put it back together her own way. 6 months ago, life was simple. I ran a successful tech company in Accra, Ghana. My wife, Grace, managed our home and our social calendar with the precision of a military general. And our daughter, Amara, had just finished her master's degree in London and moved back home. Grace and I had been arguing more lately, mostly about Amara's future. She's 26 years old, Kwame, Grace would say, her voice sharp as broken glass. All her friends are married. What is she waiting for? She's building her career, Grace. Let her breathe. Career? Grace laughed bitterly. She needs a husband. A proper husband from a good family. Not these useless boys she keeps bringing around. I didn't think much of it then. Grace had always been obsessed with status, with what the other women at her country club thought. It was annoying but harmless. Or so I thought. Then one February evening, everything changed. Amara came home glowing. Actually glowing. Her dark skin seemed to shine. Her eyes sparkled, and she couldn't stop smiling. Dad, Mom, I want you to meet someone, she announced at dinner. His name is David Osei. We met at a business conference last month, and I really like him. Grace's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Osei? From the Osei family? The ones who own half the real estate in East Legon. Amara nodded, still smiling. Yes, but that's not why I like him. He's kind, intelligent, and he makes me laugh. I watched Grace's face transform. The permanent frown she'd worn for months melted away. Her eyes lit up like someone had just handed her a winning lottery ticket. When can we meet him? Grace asked, her voice suddenly honey-sweet. This Saturday? I was thinking a casual lunch at home. Nonsense, Grace said, already pulling out her phone. We'll have dinner at La Villa. I'll make reservations right now. That Saturday, I met David Osei. He was 29, tall, well-dressed, and spoke with the polished accent of someone who'd spent years in private schools abroad. He held doors open, called me sir, and seemed genuinely interested in Amara's opinions. He seemed perfect. Too perfect. What do you think? Grace whispered to me while Amara and David looked at the dessert menu. He seems nice, I said carefully. Nice. Grace's eyes flashed. Kwame, he's from the Osei family. Do you understand what this means? Our daughter. Married into that family? The connections, the opportunities. Grace, they just met. Let's not plan their wedding yet. But Grace wasn't listening. She was already planning. Over the next 2 months, I watched my wife transform into someone I barely recognized. She invited David to every family function. She accidentally ran into his mother at the spa and cultivated a friendship. She planned activities that threw Amara and David together constantly. And Amara? She seemed happy. She talked about David constantly, showed us pictures from their dates, and started that dreamy way young women do when they're falling in love. But something bothered me. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Then, one evening, I realized what it was. David was always available. No matter when Grace called him for a family dinner, a church event, or a last-minute gathering, he was free. For a man who supposedly ran multiple businesses, he had unlimited time for us. Doesn't David have work commitments? I asked Amara one day. She shrugged, smiling. He's very flexible. He says spending time with family is important. Family. After 2 months of dating, I pushed the thought away. Maybe I was just being an overprotective father. Then came the engagement. It was April, just 2 months after they'd met. David took Amara to a beach resort in Cape Coast and proposed with a ring that probably cost more than my first car. Amara called us in tears of joy. Grace screamed so loud I thought the neighbors would call the police. "Oh, thank God," she kept saying, clutching her chest. "Thank God. Thank God." The way she said it bothered me. She didn't say, "I'm so happy for you," or "He's perfect for you." She said, "Thank God," like Amara had just been rescued from something terrible. When they came back the next day to celebrate, Grace had already called half of Accra. Our house filled with relatives and friends, all congratulating the happy couple. David played his part perfectly, humble and grateful, his arm always around Amara. But I caught something. Just a flash, really. When David thought no one was watching, his smile dropped. For just a second, he looked at Amara with cold, calculating eyes. Then someone called his name, and the warm, loving expression snapped back into place. I told myself I'd imagined it. That night, after everyone left, Grace sat in our bedroom practically vibrating with excitement. "The wedding should be in September," she announced. "That gives us 5 months to plan." 5 months? Grace, that's very fast. It's enough time. Besides, I don't want them to wait. What if David changes his mind? Why would he change his mind if he loves her? Grace gave me a strange look. Men always have options, Kwame. We need to secure this while we can. Secure. Like David was a business deal, not our daughter's future husband. Over the next weeks, Grace threw herself into wedding planning with frightening intensity. She hired the most expensive planners in Ghana. She booked the most prestigious venue. She ordered flowers from South Africa and wine from France. "Grace, this is too much," I protested when I saw the budget. $150,000 for a wedding? "It's an investment," she said firmly. "The Osei family expects excellence. We can't embarrass Amara with something cheap." "I'm not saying cheap. I'm saying reasonable. This is more than we spent on our own wedding." Times have changed, Kwame. If you can't afford to give your daughter a proper wedding, just say so. That stung. My company was successful, but Grace was draining our savings at an alarming rate. When I looked at our accounts, I noticed she'd also taken a large loan against our house without telling me. "Grace, what is this loan for?" She waved her hand dismissively. "Wedding expenses. Don't worry about it. After Amara marries into the Osei family, we'll have plenty of opportunities to make it back." Something was very wrong. But every time I tried to talk to Grace, she deflected. Every time I tried to slow things down, she accused me of not wanting Amara to be happy. And Amara seemed so happy. She glowed during dress fittings. She excitedly showed me seating charts and flower arrangements. David was attentive and loving in public. So I pushed my doubts down and tried to be supportive. But then, 3 weeks before the wedding, everything started to crack. I came home early from work one Tuesday afternoon. I'd forgotten some documents I needed for a meeting. The house was quiet. Grace's car was in the driveway, but I didn't see her in the living room or kitchen. Then I heard her voice from the study. Low and intense. I walked quietly toward the door. It was slightly open. "Don't care if it's difficult," Grace was saying into her phone. "We had an agreement, David. You do your part, you get your money. All of it." My blood froze. "Yes, the final payment transfers the day after the wedding," she continued. "Just make sure you go through with it. Amara can never know about our arrangement." I felt dizzy. The hallway seemed to tilt. 2 years minimum, Grace said coldly. "You play the devoted husband, give us a grandchild, maintain the family connection. Then you can have your divorce and the rest of your money. Everyone wins." "No. No, no, no. I don't care what your feelings are," Grace snapped. "You took the deal. 1.5 million Sadies to marry my daughter and stay married for 2 years. You've already received half. Don't even think about backing out now." My wife. My Grace. had paid someone to marry our daughter. I pushed open the door. Grace spun around, her face draining of color. Kwame, I didn't hear you come home. What the hell have you done? My voice came out as a whisper. She ended the call quickly, her composure returning with terrifying speed. It's not what you think. Not what I think. Grace, you paid David to marry Amara. I did what was necessary, she shouted back. Do you know how many unsuitable men she was wasting time with? Boys with no prospects, no family name, no future. She needed guidance. Guidance? This is insane. This is our daughter's life. Grace stood up, her face hard. And I'm ensuring she is a good one. David comes from the right family. The Osei connections will set her up for life. In 2 years, she'll have a child, financial security, and status. She'll thank me. She'll hate you when she finds out. Grace's smile made my skin crawl. She won't find out. And neither will you tell her. Like hell I won't. Think carefully, Kwame. Grace walked to her desk and pulled out a folder. I've been planning this for 6 months. Every email, every contract, every payment, they're all in your name. Your email account, your signatures, your bank accounts. She threw the folder at me. Papers scattered across the floor. I bent down, hands shaking, and picked them up. It was all there. Emails from my address arranging the deal with David. Contracts with my forged signature. Bank transfers from accounts I didn't know existed, but were somehow in my name. You framed me, I whispered. I protected myself, Grace corrected. If you tell Amara about this arrangement, she'll think you did it. She'll hate you. You'll lose your daughter forever. Is that what you want? I looked at my wife of 27 years and realized I was staring at a stranger. A cold, calculating stranger who had just destroyed our family and threatened to make me the villain. Why? I asked, my voice breaking. Why would you do this? Grace's face softened slightly. Because I love her, Kwame. I want her to have the best life possible. You wouldn't understand. You've always been content with good enough. But I want more for our daughter. I want her to have everything. She had everything. She had a career she loved, friends, freedom. You didn't give her a better life, Grace. You bought her a prison and called it a palace. Get out, Grace said quietly. Get out before you say something you can't take back. I left. I walked out of that house and drove aimlessly through Accra for hours, my mind spinning. I couldn't tell Amara. Grace had made sure of that. If I did, my daughter would think I'd betrayed her, that I'd sold her like property. I was trapped. And the wedding was 3 weeks away. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. Every morning, I woke up hoping it had all been a nightmare. Every morning, reality crashed back down. I watched my daughter prepare for a wedding to a man who was being paid to love her. I smiled during cake tastings while my stomach twisted into knots. I approved seating arrangements while Grace watched me like a hawk, daring me to speak up. At night, I barely slept. Grace had moved into the guest room because of wedding stress. Really, I think she couldn't stand to look at me, and I certainly couldn't stand to look at her. I thought about going to the police. But Grace had covered her tracks well. The money she'd used for David's payment? She'd embezzled it from my company through fake vendor accounts she'd set up using my credentials. If I reported her, I'd be reporting myself. She was diabolical. And I'd been too blind to see it. I tried talking to David once. I showed up at his office unannounced, 2 weeks before the wedding. Mr. Mensah, he said, surprised. Is everything okay? I know about the money, I said quietly, closing his office door. His friendly expression evaporated. I see. How could you do this? Amara is a real person with real feelings. You're going to destroy her. David leaned back in his chair, studying me. Your wife approached me 6 months ago with a business proposition. She explained that Amara had been dating unsuitable men and needed guidance toward a better match. She offered me substantial compensation to court Amara, marry her, and maintain the relationship for 2 years. And you said yes? Just like that? He shrugged. I'm a businessman, Mr. Mensah. Your wife was offering 1.5 million Sadies. That's more than I make in 3 years. And all I have to do is play the role of devoted husband for a while? It seemed like a fair deal. Fair? You're lying to her every single day. And what are you doing? David shot back. You know the truth, and you're saying nothing. At least I'm honest about my dishonesty. That hit hard, because he was right.
I was just as guilty by my silence.
What happens after 2 years? I asked. I divorce her. Amicably. We'll say we grew apart. Amara gets the Osei family connection. A child if we have one by then, and a generous settlement. She'll be fine. She'll be heartbroken. She'll get over it. People do. I wanted to hit him. This smug, heartless man who saw my daughter as nothing more than a business transaction. Please, I said, hating how desperate I sounded. Call it off. I'll pay you the money myself, double it. Just don't go through with this wedding. David smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I've already received half the payment, Mr. Mensah. And I've signed a contract. If I back out now, your wife sues me for breach of contract. Besides, where would you get 3 million Sadies? Your wife has already drained most of your liquid assets. What? You didn't know? David seemed genuinely surprised. She's been moving money out of your accounts for months. The wedding expenses, my payment, various investments. You should really pay more attention to your finances. After I left his office, I went straight to my accountant. What I discovered made me sick. Grace had taken nearly everything. Our savings account, emptied. Our investment portfolios, liquidated. She'd even taken loans against our house and my company. In total, she'd moved or spent nearly 2 million Sadies in 6 months. Mr. Mensah, I tried to call you about these transactions, my accountant said nervously. But Mrs. Mensah said you'd approved everything. How did she access these accounts? She has your power of attorney. You signed it years ago, remember? For emergency situations. I had signed it 15 years ago, when I'd had surgery and needed someone to handle my affairs while I recovered. I never revoked it, and Grace had used it to destroy us financially. That night, I confronted her. You've bankrupted us, I said, throwing the financial statements on the kitchen table. Grace barely glanced at them. It's an investment, Kwame. Once Amara is married to David, we'll have access to Osei family opportunities. We'll make it all back and more. That's not how this works. David is going to divorce her in 2 years. There won't be any family opportunities. Then we'll have 2 years to make the connections count, Grace said calmly. Stop being so dramatic. Everything is under control. Under control? Grace, if this comes out, we lose everything. Our daughter's trust, our reputation, possibly our freedom. How is that under control? She looked at me with such cold contempt. It won't come out, because you're too much of a coward to tell the truth. She was right, and that's what hurt the most. The wedding was now 1 week away. Amara had no idea. She was radiant, excited, completely in love with a man who saw her as a job. I started having panic attacks. I'd be in a meeting and suddenly couldn't breathe. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, gasping, my heart racing. My assistant noticed. Sir, are you all right? You don't look well. Just wedding stress, I lied. Everyone thought I was nervous about giving away my daughter. They had no idea I was watching her walk into a trap I couldn't save her from. 3 days before the wedding, Amara came to my office. Just her, no Grace. Dad, can we talk? My heart stopped. Did she know? Had David told her? Of course, sweetheart. What's wrong? She sat down, twisting her engagement ring around her finger. Nothing's wrong. I wanted to thank you. Thank me? For what? For always supporting me. For never pushing me to get married or settle down. For letting me make my own choices. Tears filled her eyes. I know Mom can be intense about these things, but you've always trusted me. And I want you to know that marrying David is my choice. I love him, Dad. I really do. I nearly broke down right there. My daughter, thanking me for respecting her choices, while I was letting her marry someone who was being paid to fake loving her. Amara, I started, my voice cracking. Dad, are you crying? She came around the desk and hugged me. It's okay. I'm not leaving you. I'll still be your daughter, even as David's wife. I held her tight, trying to memorize the moment, because in 3 days, everything would change. And I still didn't know how to stop it. That night, I made a decision. I couldn't tell Amara the truth without her hating me. But maybe I could tell David's family. If they knew their son was involved in this scheme, maybe they'd stop the wedding themselves. I called David's father, Victor Osei, and requested a private meeting. We met at his office the next morning. Victor was a distinguished man in his 60s, successful and sharp-eyed. Mr. Mensah, what can I do for you? Is this about the wedding? Yes, I said. I need to tell you something about David and Amara's relationship. I told him everything. The payment, the contract, Grace's scheme. I laid it all out. Victor listened in silence. When I finished, he sat back in his chair and steepled his fingers. That's quite a story, he said finally. It's the truth. Your son is being paid to marry my daughter. I have proof. I started to pull out the documents Grace had thrown at me. Victor held up his hand. I don't need to see proof, Mr. Mensah. I believe you. Relief flooded through me. Then you'll stop the wedding?
No.
I stared at him. What? I said I believe you. I don't doubt that your wife made this arrangement with David, but I'm not going to stop the wedding. But your son is committing fraud. He's lying to my daughter. Victor's expression hardened. My son is a grown man making his own decisions. If he chose to accept your wife's proposition, that's between them. And frankly, Mr. Mensah, this marriage benefits my family too. Benefits?
How?
The Mensah name may not be as old as ours, but your tech company is very successful. This marriage creates a business alliance that could be quite profitable. Why would I interfere with that? I felt sick. You're just like Grace. You see our children as chess pieces. I see them as adults making strategic choices, Victor corrected. In our social circle, Mr. Mensah, all marriages are strategic to some degree. At least this one is honest about it. Honest? No one is being honest. Amara has no idea. Then tell her, Victor said simply. You're her father. If this arrangement bothers you so much, tell her the truth. I can't. Grace has framed me for everything. If I speak up, Amara will think I arranged it. Victor smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then I'd say you're in quite a predicament. But it's not my problem to solve. The wedding will proceed as planned. Good day, Mr. Mensah. I left his office feeling more hopeless than ever. Even David's own father wouldn't help. The wedding was in 2 days. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I got drunk. Completely, thoroughly drunk. I sat in my home office with a bottle of whiskey and tried to drink away my guilt. Grace found me there around midnight. Pathetic, she said, looking down at me with disgust. Pull yourself together, Kwame. The wedding is in 2 days. I won't have you embarrassing us. Embarrassing us? I laughed bitterly. Grace, we're already an embarrassment. We're selling our daughter like livestock. We're ensuring her future, Grace snapped. Something you're apparently too weak to understand. Now get cleaned up and get some sleep. You have father of the bride duties to perform. She left. I stayed there, drinking, until I passed out in my chair. The next day was the rehearsal. I showed up hungover and miserable. Amara looked concerned. Dad, are you okay? You look terrible. Just a bug. I lied. I'll be fine by tomorrow. The rehearsal was torture. I had to walk through the motions of giving my daughter away to a man I knew was playing a role. I had to smile and nod while the wedding planner explained how I'd hand Amara to David at the altar. After the rehearsal, there was a dinner. Both families together, celebrating. David's parents were there, smiling and welcoming, knowing exactly what their son was doing. Grace was radiant, already acting like she was part of the Osei family. And Amara was glowing. She kept looking at David with such love, such trust. I excused myself early, claiming my stomach bug was getting worse. Amara walked me to my car. Dad, seriously, are you okay? You've been acting strange all week. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just emotional about tomorrow. You're my little girl, and now you're getting married. She hugged me. I'll always be your little girl. Nothing changes that. Everything changes tomorrow, I thought. Everything. I went home and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow was the wedding. In less than 24 hours, my daughter would marry a man who was being paid to fake loving her. And there was nothing I could do to stop it without losing her forever. Or so I thought. Because what I didn't know was that Amara had already found out the truth. And she had plans of her own. The morning of the wedding, I woke up feeling numb. I'd barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Amara's trusting face, heard her saying, "I love him, Dad." My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. "Be at the venue by noon. Don't be late." No, good morning. No, how are you feeling? Just orders. That's all our marriage was now. Orders and lies. I showered, put on my tuxedo, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked old, tired, defeated. There was a knock on my bedroom door. "Dad, can I come in?" Amara. I opened the door. She was in a silk robe, her hair in curlers, her face fresh and natural. She looked so young, so innocent. "Hey, sweetheart. Aren't you supposed to be getting ready with your mother and bridesmaids?" "I am. I just wanted to see you first." She came in and sat on my bed. "Dad, I need to ask you something." My heart started racing. "Okay. Are you happy about this wedding?" "Really happy." I froze. "What do you mean?" "You've been acting strange for weeks."
Sad. Distracted.
"I thought maybe you were having trouble with the idea of me getting married, but now I'm wondering if it's something else." This was it. My chance to tell her. But Grace's threat echoed in my mind. "They're all in your name. She'll think you did it." "I'm happy if you're happy," I said, the coward's answer. Amara studied my face for a long moment. Then she smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Okay, Dad. I just wanted to make sure." She stood up to leave, then turned back. "Dad, I love you. No matter what happens today, I want you to know that. I love you, and I trust you." She left before I could respond. I sat there, her words echoing. No matter what happens today. What did that mean? I arrived at the venue at noon. It was spectacular. Grace had rented out the Kempinski Hotel's gold ballroom. Everything was white and gold, dripping with luxury. Hundreds of roses, crystal chandeliers, a champagne fountain. Grace was in her element, directing staff, checking every detail. She saw me and nodded curtly. "Good. You're on time. The ceremony starts at 3. Stay out of the way until then." I wandered through the venue feeling like a ghost. Guests were starting to arrive, dressed in their finest. The elite of Accra society. Everyone who was anyone. David was in a side room with his groomsmen. Through the open door, I could see him laughing, taking shots, completely relaxed. Like this was just another day. I suppose for him it was. Just a very profitable day. At 2:30, a wedding planner found me. "Mr. Mensah? It's time to get into position. We'll bring Amara to you in 15 minutes. I was taken to a small preparation room near the main hall. It was quiet here, away from the chaos. I sat in an armchair and tried to prepare myself for what was about to happen. Then the door opened, and Amara walked in. My breath caught. She was stunning. Her wedding dress was an elegant white gown with traditional Kent cloth woven into the bodice. Her makeup was perfect, her hair styled in an elaborate updo with small white flowers woven through it. But it was her eyes that stopped me. They weren't filled with the joy and excitement I'd seen for months. They were clear, focused, almost cold. "Hi, Dad," she said softly, closing the door behind her. "Amara, sweetheart, you look beautiful." "Thank you." She sat down across from me. "Dad, before we go out there, I need to tell you something." My heart sank. She knows, I thought. Somehow, she knows and she thinks I did it. "I know about the money," she said quietly. The room seemed to tilt. "Amara, I know Mom paid David to marry me." The world stopped.
How?
I couldn't get words out. "How long have you known?" 3 days. Her voice was eerily calm, nothing like the heartbroken rage I'd expected. David's best man got drunk at the bachelor party and thought it was hilarious. Told the whole story. Said David was earning his retirement early. Tears filled my eyes. Amara, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you. I tried to stop it, but your mother. She held up her hand. I know, Dad. I hacked into Mom's computer. I saw everything. The contract, the emails, the bank records. All from her accounts. I know you had nothing to do with this. Relief flooded through me so intensely, I thought I might collapse. Then we cancel this. Right now. We call off the wedding. Amara's smile was sharp, nothing like her usual warmth. It reminded me of Grace. Oh, we're not canceling anything, Dad. We're going through with it. Every single minute.
What?
Amara, no, you can't marry him knowing. Watch me. Her eyes glittered with something fierce, something I'd never seen in my gentle daughter before. Mom wants her perfect wedding? Her Osei family connection? Her social triumph? She's going to get it. All of it. And then she's going to pay for what she did. Amara, what are you planning? She stood up and walked to the mirror, checking her makeup with cold precision. You'll see. Just trust me, Dad. And when we walk down that aisle, no matter what I say or do, just keep walking. Can you do that for me? Amara, please, tell me what you're going to do. She turned back to me, and for a moment I saw my little girl again. Vulnerable. Hurt. She was willing to buy me a husband, Dad. Like I was too unlovable, too worthless to find one on my own. She was going to let me live a lie for 2 years, have a baby with a man who was just doing a job, and then watch my marriage fall apart. All for her social status. Her voice broke slightly, but she composed herself quickly. I'm not going to let her get away with it. And neither should you. Before I could respond, there was a knock on the door. Mr. Mensah? Miss Mensah? It's time. Amara took my arm. Ready, Dad? I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. We walked toward the main hall. I could hear the string quartet playing, the murmur of 200 guests. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Remember, Amara whispered as we reached the doors. No matter what happens, keep walking. The doors opened. The music swelled. Everyone stood, and we began our walk down the aisle. The aisle was long, lined with white roses and candles. Faces turned toward us, smiling. Grace sat in the front row, already dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief, the picture of the emotional mother of the bride. We were 3 steps in when Amara leaned close to me. Mom paid him to marry me, Dad, she said, her voice just loud enough for the first few rows to hear. Heads turned. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. We kept walking. 5 more steps. Did you know, Dad, Amara's voice rose slightly, that Mom's been embezzling from your company for 2 years to finance this wedding and David's fee? More people were turning now. The murmurs grew louder. Grace stood up from her seat, her face pale. We kept walking. 10 more steps. 1.5 million Sadies, Amara continued, her voice clear and carrying now. That's how much my mother paid David Osei to marry me, stay married for 2 years, give her a grandchild, and then divorce me while maintaining the social connection she wanted. The music stopped. The entire chapel went silent. We reached the altar. David stood there, frozen, his face the color of paper. The officiant looked confused, glancing between us and Grace. Amara turned to face the crowd, still holding my arm. Before we continue, I have a confession to make. Amara, stop this nonsense. Grace's voice rang out. She was pushing toward us, but Amara's bridesmaids blocked her path. Sit down, Mother, Amara said, her voice like ice. You're going to want to hear this. She pulled a folded document from her bouquet. How she'd hidden it there, I don't know. This, she held it up, is a contract. A contract my mother made with David Osei 6 months ago, paying him 2 million Sadies total, half up front, half after the wedding, to court me, marry me, stay married for 2 years, produce a child, and then divorce me while maintaining the Osei family connection she so desperately wanted. Gasps erupted throughout the hall. Grace was trying to push past the bridesmaids, but they held firm. Amara, you're hysterical, Grace started. I have copies, Amara interrupted calmly. Her maid of honor and 5 other bridesmaids suddenly pulled stacks of paper from beneath the flower arrangements and began distributing them to the guests. You'll find it's quite detailed. Payment schedules, performance bonuses if David was particularly convincing, even a clause about what to name our theoretical child. Charlotte if it's a girl, Victor if it's a boy. Named after David's parents, naturally. The chapel erupted into chaos. People were reading the contracts, gasping, whispering frantically to each other. Cell phones came out. In Accra's elite social circle, this was the scandal of the decade. David stepped back from the altar. Amara, I'm sorry. I can explain. Don't. Amara cut him off. You took the deal. You were going to go through with it. The only reason you're sorry is because I'm exposing you in front of everyone you know. She turned back to the crowd. But the contract isn't even the best part. You see, when I started digging into how Mom afforded this scheme, I found something interesting. Her cousin walked forward with a laptop, setting it up quickly on a stand near the altar. Within seconds, financial documents appeared on 2 large screens behind us. These are records from Chin Technology Solutions, my father's company, Amara explained. Over the past 2 years, my mother has embezzled 2.3 million sadies through fake vendor accounts. The wedding, David's payment, all of it paid for with stolen money from the company my father built from nothing. The screens showed everything. Fake invoices, shell companies, money transfers. All with Grace's digital fingerprints on them. Grace finally broke through the bridesmaids. Those documents are fake. She's lying. Am I? Amara pulled out her phone. Because I also have recorded phone conversations. Would you like to hear them? She pressed play. Grace's voice filled the chapel through the sound system. Don't care if it's difficult. We had an agreement, David. You do your part, you get your money. 2 years minimum. You play the devoted husband, give us a grandchild, maintain the family connection. She can never know about our arrangement. The recording played for 2 minutes. Grace's voice, cold and calculating, laying out the entire scheme. When it ended, the chapel was dead silent. Grace stood in the aisle, her carefully constructed social facade crumbling. You don't understand, she said, her voice desperate now. I did this for you, Amara, to give you a better life. A better life? Amara's voice cracked for the first time. You bought me a husband, Mom. Like I was some pathetic charity case who couldn't find love on my own. Do you have any idea how that feels? Tears were streaming down Amara's face now, but her voice remained strong. Every kiss, every I love you, every moment I thought I was building a future with someone who chose me, it was all a transaction. He was doing a job, and you paid him to do it. I wanted you to have the best. Grace cried. The best? The best would have been trusting me.
Supporting me.
Not treating me like a business deal. Amara's voice broke. Did you ever stop to think about what would have happened in 2 years? When David divorced me like you planned. When I had a child who would grow up in a broken home. Did you care about that? We would have supported you. With what? Amara laughed bitterly. You embezzled everything. Dad's company is nearly bankrupt because of you. His life savings gone.
You didn't just betray me, Mom.
You destroyed our entire family. I stood there, watching my daughter confront her mother, and felt something shift. For 3 weeks, I'd been paralyzed by fear and guilt. But Amara had been brave enough to do what I couldn't. Grace looked around the chapel, at all the shocked, disgusted faces. Her friends from the country club, her social circle, all watching her fall from grace. I did this because I love you, Grace said weakly. No, Amara said firmly. You did this because you're obsessed with status and appearances. You didn't care about my happiness. You cared about being able to tell your friends your daughter married into the Osei family. She turned to David.
And you?
You took the money. You looked me in the eye and lied to me for 4 months. How does it feel, David? Was it worth it? David had the decency to look ashamed. Amara, it started as a transaction, but I did develop feelings. Stop. Amara held up her hand. Save it for someone who might believe you. She turned to David's parents, who sat in the front row looking uncomfortable. Mr. and Mrs. Osei, did you know about this arrangement? Victor Osei stood up slowly. We learned about it recently. And you did nothing to stop it? It's not our place to interfere in our son's business decisions. Business decisions, Amara repeated flatly. Your son agreeing to fake marry me for money is a business decision.
Got it.
She addressed the entire crowd now. I want everyone here to understand something. I didn't expose the scheme for revenge. Well, not just for revenge. A sad smile crossed her face. I exposed it because I refuse to live a lie. I refuse to build a life on a foundation of fraud and betrayal. She looked at me. My father is the only person who tried to protect me. Mom framed him for everything, forged his signatures, used his accounts, all so that if the truth came out, I'd blame him instead of her. But Dad would never do this. He spent the last 3 weeks in agony, knowing what was happening and being unable to stop it without losing me. I felt tears running down my face. My daughter understood. She knew I'd tried. So here's what's going to happen, Amara said, her voice businesslike now. David, our engagement is over. Obviously. I'm sure you'll survive without the second half of your payment. David nodded mutely. Mom, I've already forwarded all the evidence of your embezzlement to the police and to Dad's company lawyers. They're probably arriving at the house right about now to place you under arrest. Grace's eyes went wide. You called the police? What did you expect, Mom? You committed multiple crimes. Embezzlement, fraud, forgery. You're going to prison. But I'm your mother, and you betrayed me in the worst way possible, Amara said softly. Actions have consequences. As if on cue, police officers appeared at the back of the chapel. Grace saw them and tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The officers walked calmly down the aisle. Grace Mensah, you're under arrest for embezzlement and fraud, one of them announced, pulling out handcuffs. The chapel erupted again. People were filming on their phones, talking frantically. Grace was led away in handcuffs, still in her expensive mother-of-the-bride dress, crying and protesting. I watched my wife of 27 years being arrested and felt nothing. No sadness, no anger. Just a strange emptiness. Amara turned to me. Dad, I'm sorry you had to see that. I know you still love her. I shook my head. I don't think I do anymore, sweetheart. The woman I loved wouldn't have done this. I don't know who your mother became. She hugged me tight. I'm sorry this is how today ended. Are you kidding? I held her close. You were magnificent. Terrifying, but magnificent. She pulled back, laughing through tears. I learned from the best. You built a company from nothing, Dad. You taught me to be strong, to stand up for myself. I just put those lessons to use. The guests were starting to leave, still talking frantically among themselves. This would be all over social media within an hour. Grace's reputation was destroyed, the Osei family humiliated, and our family, well, we were a mess. But we were honest mess now. David approached us hesitantly. Amara, I know you don't want to hear this, but I really am sorry. It did start as just money, but I did care about you. I still do. Amara looked at him for a long moment. Maybe you did develop some feelings, David. But you still chose the money. You still lied to me every single day. And when you had a chance to come clean at the bachelor party, you laughed about it with your friends instead. I know. I was wrong. Is there anything I can do to make this right? Return the money you've already received to my father's company, Amara said firmly. That's the only thing you can do. David nodded. I will. I promise. Your promises don't mean much to me anymore, but sure. We'll see. He walked away, shoulders slumped. His parents followed, not looking at any of us. The venue was emptying quickly now. The wedding planner was frantically talking to the hotel staff, probably trying to figure out what to do with the reception that would never happen. Amara's bridesmaids surrounded her, hugging her, crying with her. Her maid of honor, Yeah, looked at me with tears in her eyes. Mr. Mensah, we had no idea what Amara was planning. She just asked us to hide papers in the flower arrangements. We didn't know it would be this intense. It's okay, yeah. You helped my daughter get her truth out. One of the bridesmaids brought tissues. Amara wiped her eyes, smearing her carefully applied makeup. Well, this is officially the most expensive therapy session ever. 150,000 sadies to tell my mother off in front of 200 people. Despite everything, I laughed. Worth every sadie. Dad, what are we going to do? About the company, the house, everything Mom destroyed? We'll figure it out, I said, more confidently than I felt. The company has insurance for embezzlement. It'll be a mess to sort out, but we'll survive. We always do. And Mom? When she goes to prison? I sighed. That's her consequence to face. I'll make sure she has legal representation, but Amara? I can't protect her from this. What she did was criminal. I know. Amara looked sad now, the adrenaline wearing off. Part of me still loves her, you know? She's my mom. But I can't forgive what she did. You don't have to. Not now. Maybe not ever. That's your choice. We stood there in the empty chapel, still in our wedding attire, surrounded by abandoned flower arrangements and half-distributed contracts. So, I said finally, what do we do with 200 plates of food and a 3-tier cake? Amara smiled. We invite the hotel staff to eat it. And anyone who didn't immediately run away to gossip. That's my girl. Waste not, want not. We walked out of the chapel together. A few people were still lingering in the lobby, talking in hushed tones. They went quiet when they saw us. Amara held her head high, still in her wedding dress, and walked past them without shame. I'd never been more proud of her. The next few weeks were brutal. The wedding scandal went viral on social media. Amara's exposure of Grace became the top trending topic in Ghana for 3 days straight. Someone had filmed the entire confrontation and posted it online. Within 24 hours, it had millions of views. The reactions were mixed. Some people praised Amara for her bravery. Others called her cruel for humiliating her mother publicly. A few accused her of making it all up for attention, despite the documented evidence. Grace was formally charged with embezzlement, fraud, and forgery. She was denied bail after prosecutors argued she was a flight risk. She'd be in jail until her trial, which could take months. I visited her once, a week after the wedding. She sat across from me in the visiting room wearing a prison jumpsuit, her hair unwashed, her eyes hollow. You came, she said quietly. Of course I came. Despite everything, we were married for 27 years. Are you here to gloat? To tell me I deserve this?
No.
I'm here to tell you I've hired a lawyer for you. A good one. Grace looked shocked. Why would you do that? Because underneath all the betrayal and lies, I remember the woman I married. And I remember that you're still Amara's mother. She'll need you to get proper legal help, even if she's not ready to see you yet. Tears filled Grace's eyes. I ruined everything, didn't I?
Yes.
You did. I thought I was helping her, Kwame. I really did. I thought if she married into the Osei family, she'd have security, status, connections. All the things I never had growing up. This was the first time Grace had ever mentioned her childhood. She'd always refused to talk about growing up poor in a small village. So this was about you, I said quietly. About what you didn't have. Maybe, Grace admitted. I saw how people treated me when I had nothing. And then when I married you, when you became successful, I saw how differently they acted. I didn't want Amara to ever feel small like I did. So you made her feel worthless instead. You told her, through your actions, that she wasn't good enough to find love on her own. Grace flinched. I didn't mean it that way. But that's how it landed. I leaned forward. Grace, Amara is brilliant, beautiful, kind, and successful. She would have found someone who loved her genuinely. You didn't trust her, and you didn't trust that she was enough just as she is. I know that now, Grace whispered. Will she ever forgive me? I don't know. That's her choice to make. But Grace, you need to understand that forgiveness, if it ever comes, will take years. Not weeks. Not months. Years. And she may never fully trust you again. I've lost everything, haven't I? My daughter, my husband, my freedom. You lost it when you decided status mattered more than honesty, I said. Now you have to live with that choice. I stood to leave. Kwame? Grace called out. Are you divorcing me? I paused. I don't know yet. Right now, I'm focusing on rebuilding what you destroyed. We can talk about us after you've faced justice for what you did. I left without looking back. The company situation was complicated. Grace had embezzled 2.3 million Sadies over 2 years. The insurance covered most of it, but there were still gaps. We had to lay off 15 employees, scale back operations, and I had to take a significant pay cut. But we survived. The company didn't go under. And oddly, the scandal brought us some publicity that turned into new clients. Apparently, people respected how we'd handled the crisis transparently. David did return the 750,000 Sadies he'd already received from Grace. His lawyer sent it with a formal apology. It helped, but it didn't fix everything. The Osei family retreated from public life for a while. Victor Osei resigned from 2 charity boards amid pressure. David reportedly moved to South Africa. The family's reputation was tarnished, probably forever. As for Amara, she moved back in with me. We'd both lost our house. Grace had taken too many loans against it, and we couldn't keep up with payments. We rented a nice apartment in OSU instead. Smaller, simpler, but honest. One evening, about a month after the wedding that never was, Amara and I sat on our apartment balcony watching the sunset over Accra. I saw Dr. Akoto today, Amara said quietly. She'd started seeing a therapist after everything happened. How did it go? She says I'm processing my grief in a healthy way. That public exposure was my way of taking back control. And how do you feel about it now? Any regrets? Amara thought about it. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far, if I should have handled it privately. But then I remember that Mom was going to let me live a lie for 2 years. Have a child with someone who was paid to pretend to love me. And I think, no. She needed to face consequences. Public ones. For what it's worth, I think you were incredibly brave. You would have told me if you could have, Amara said. I know that, Dad. Mom made sure you couldn't. Still, I should have found a way. I'm your father. Protecting you is my job. You did protect me, Amara insisted. You gave me the tools to protect myself. You raised me to be strong, independent, confident. That's why I was able to fight back. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Have you talked to Mom? Amara asked.
Once.
I told her I hired her a lawyer. That's very kind of you. Kinder than she deserves. Maybe. But it's not just for her. It's so that you don't have to carry the guilt of your mother going through this alone. When you're ready to process your relationship with her, whether that's forgiveness, closure, or just understanding, you'll know she had proper legal representation. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Do you think I'll ever forgive her? I don't know, sweetheart. That's entirely up to you. There's no right answer. Part of me hates her. Part of me misses her. Part of me just feels sad for her. All of those feelings are valid. Dr. Akoto says the same thing. Amara wiped her eyes. She also says I should probably take a break from dating for a while. I laughed. That seems wise. Although, ironically, I've had 3 different guys ask me out since the wedding scandal went viral. Apparently, standing up to betrayal is attractive. Please tell me you said no to all of them. Of course I did. I'm not ready for that. Besides, how would I ever trust anyone again? What if they're just interested in the girl from the viral video? You'll trust again, I said confidently. It'll take time, but you will. Because you're strong enough to heal from this. Amara leaned her head on my shoulder. Thanks, Dad. For what? For being the parent I could count on. For being honest, even when it was hard. For not making me feel like I needed to be bought or sold or packaged into the perfect life. You never needed any of that. You were always perfect just as you are. We watched the sun set over the city. Somewhere out there, Grace sat in a jail cell, facing trial. Somewhere out there, David was starting over in a new country. Somewhere out there, the people who'd attended our scandal of a wedding were telling the story to friends and family. But here, on this balcony, we were just a father and daughter trying to rebuild. 6 months after the wedding, life had settled into a new normal. Grace's trial had taken place 3 months ago. She pleaded guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. The judge gave her 3 years in prison, with possibility of parole after 18 months for good behavior. In her statement to the court, Grace had apologized to Amara, to me, and to everyone she'd hurt. She'd cried. She'd taken responsibility. The judge had been relatively lenient because Grace had no prior criminal record and showed genuine remorse. Amara still hadn't visited her. She sent a letter once, but she wasn't ready for face-to-face contact. I visited Grace once a month. Not because I'd forgiven her, but because I believed everyone deserved basic human dignity, even when they'd done terrible things. The company had recovered. We were smaller, leaner, but stable. I'd actually found I preferred it this way. Less stress, more focus on quality over quantity. Amara had started her own consulting business. Ironically, her scandal had made her something of an expert on corporate ethics and personal integrity. Companies hired her to speak about transparency and authentic corporate culture. She was making good money and seemed genuinely happy with her work. As for me, I'd started dating. Just casual coffee dates, nothing serious. It felt strange after 27 years of marriage, but also freeing. I was rediscovering who I was outside of being Grace's husband. One Saturday morning, 6 months and 2 weeks after the wedding, Amara came into my home office with her laptop. "Dad, you need to see this." She turned the screen toward me. It was a news article. David Osei arrested for fraud in South Africa. I read quickly. David had apparently tried to run the same scheme in Johannesburg. He'd approached a wealthy family, offering to marry their daughter for money. But this time, the family had gone to the police immediately. "Karma," Amara said simply. "How do you feel about it?" "Honestly, vindicated." He didn't learn his lesson. He thought he could just do it again somewhere else. "Do you regret exposing him?" "Not even a little bit. If I hadn't, he might have done this to someone else in Ghana. At least now, everyone knows who he really is."
My phone rang.
Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello. Mr. Mensah? This is Attorney Ajay, representing your wife. Is Grace okay?" "She's fine, sir. But she's asked if you and your daughter would be willing to visit her. She has something important she wants to say." I looked at Amara. "It's your mom's lawyer. She wants to see us." Amara's face went through several emotions. Fear, anger, sadness, curiosity. "I'll go," she said finally. "But you're coming with me." "Always." We visited Grace the following Tuesday. She looked different. Thinner, older, but also somehow clearer. Like something had been stripped away, leaving only the essential parts. She sat down across from us, her hands shaking slightly. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "Both of you." We waited. "I've been in therapy here," Grace began. "Mandatory therapy as part of my sentence. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about why I did what I did." "We know why," Amara said, her voice cold. "You wanted status and connections. That's part of it. But it goes deeper." Grace took a breath. "I grew up very poor, Amara. My father was a drunk who beat my mother. We had nothing. And I mean nothing. Some days we didn't eat." This was news to Amara. Grace had never shared any of this. "When I was 16, I promised myself I'd never be poor again. Never be powerless again. I clawed my way up, married your father, and finally had the life I'd always wanted. Security, respect, status." "So this was all about your trauma," Amara said.
Yes.
"And I never dealt with it. I just transferred it onto you. I was terrified you'd somehow end up like I was.
Poor.
Powerless. Looked down on. So I tried to control your future, to make absolutely sure you'd be secure. By buying me a husband. By buying you what I thought was security, Grace corrected. I was wrong. So completely, utterly wrong. And I'm sorry, Amara. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. I'm sorry I didn't see that you're nothing like me. You are never going to be powerless because your father raised you to be strong.
She looked at me.
Kwame raised you better than I ever could have. He gave you confidence, independence, integrity, all the things I never had. And instead of celebrating that, I tried to undermine it. I tried to control you because I couldn't control my own fear. Amara was crying now. You hurt me so badly, Mom. I know. And I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. Grace's voice broke. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that it was never about you not being enough. It was always about me being too broken to see how amazing you already were. We sat in silence for a long moment. I don't forgive you yet, Amara said finally. I don't know if I ever will completely, but I understand now. And that's a start. Grace nodded, tears streaming down her face. That's more than I deserve. Thank you. As we left the prison, Amara was quiet. Are you okay? I asked. I think so. It helps knowing the why behind it all. It doesn't excuse what she did, but it makes it more human, I guess. Your mom is going to carry this for the rest of her life. The guilt, the shame, the knowledge of what she destroyed. Good, Amara said, then paused. That sounds harsh, doesn't it? It sounds honest. We got in the car. Amara stared out the window as I drove. Dad, do you think you'll ever get back together with Mom? After she gets out? I'd been thinking about this a lot.
No.
I don't think so.
Too much has happened.
Too much trust has been broken. We can be civil, maybe eventually even friendly for your sake. But the marriage is over. I'm sorry. Don't be. Your mother and we'd been growing apart for years. The woman I married had slowly been replaced by someone obsessed with status and appearances. This scandal didn't destroy our marriage. It just revealed that it was already dead. That's sad. It is. But it's also freeing. I get to start over. Figure out who I am at 53. Date, travel, focus on work I'm passionate about. There's something exciting about that. Amara smiled. You sound happy, Dad. I am. Happier than I've been in years, actually. Isn't that strange? Our family fell apart. We lost everything. And somehow I'm happy. It's not strange. We're free now. Free from lies. Free from pretending. Free from living for other people's expectations. She was right. We were free. That was 6 months ago. Today, life continues. Grace is still in prison, working through her therapy, facing her demons. She writes to Amara once a month. Amara sometimes writes back. It's slow, painful healing, but it's something. David is facing trial in South Africa for the fraud he attempted there. I don't think about him much anymore. The Osei family has mostly recovered their reputation by distancing themselves from David and making large charitable donations. Money can fix a lot of things in our social circles. As for Amara, she's thriving. Her consulting business is booming. She's confident, happy, and completely herself. She started dating someone a few months ago, a teacher she met at a friend's birthday party. He's kind, genuine, and has no interest in her family's money or connections. They're taking it slow, which seems wise. And me? I'm good. The company is stable. I'm dating someone wonderful, a doctor I met at a hospital fundraiser. We laugh a lot. We're honest with each other. It's simple and real, which is exactly what I need. Sometimes people recognize me from the viral wedding video. They usually ask if I'm doing okay. I tell them I am, and I mean it. Because here's what I learned from all of this. Secrets destroy families. Status and appearances mean nothing if you lose your integrity. And sometimes, the worst betrayals lead to the most necessary revelations. My daughter was willing to blow up her life to stand in her truth. She refused to live a lie, even when it would have been easier. That took courage I never knew she had. I'm proud of her. I'm proud of us. We survived the worst kind of betrayal, and we came out stronger. So if you're facing your own wedding scandal, your own family betrayal, your own impossible situation where telling the truth seems like it'll destroy everything,
I want you to know something.
the truth does destroy things. But it only destroys the lies, the pretenses, the false foundations. What's real, what's genuine, what's worth keeping, that survives.
My daughter taught me that.
She walked down that aisle knowing she was about to detonate a bomb that would destroy her mother's reputation, her fiancé's future, and her own wedding day.
But she did it anyway.
Because living a lie was worse than facing a painful truth. I'm Kwame Mensah. This was my story. The story of how my wife betrayed our daughter, how my daughter got her revenge, and how we rebuilt from the ruins. And if there's one thing I want you to remember from this, it's this. You are enough.
Just as you are.
You don't need to be bought, sold, or packaged into someone else's version of perfect. You're enough. My daughter was always enough. I just wish her mother had seen it too. Thank you for listening.